Well, hello everybody. Danny back from Deepsouth Homestead. Sitting in my room here looking out over the back of the property here. It's not good looking. Dead grass everywhere, ponds about 5-6 foot low. Leaves is falling off the trees, looks like fall out here. And that's what I want to talk about today. Is any of you who's followed us for any length of time knows that I have talked about the extreme weather conditions we're going to be having. And right now here in the Deep South we are in an extreme drought. We've been 83 days now from 104 to 130 degree heat indexes for 83 days in a row, consecutive days in a row, no breaks in between it. Nighttime temps range anywhere from 80 degrees with a heat index of 90 to 96 degrees. And I've always said this is a year of solutions. And we've had almost no rain. When I say we've had no rain, we might get 1/8 of an inch, we might get 1/4 of an inch, and then 15 minutes later the sun comes out and it's gone. And what I want to do today is I want to show you the pond. I mean, this pond is 6 foot low right now. And there's no end in sight. We've looked at the extended forecasts and we don't see anything that's going to be substantial enough to put the water back in this. Now, we have a well, but it's at this particular property, it's just a 2-inch well. And the groundwater level here is dropping also. We can't run the risk of trying to pump water into a pond and deplete our groundwater. This one has gone back to what we're calling almost, we got about another 2 foot to go lower, and we'll be back to what's called static groundwater level. That's where it came up to the day it was built, because that was the static water level. Now, I mean, as Wanda looks around here, you can see how far it is down away from the edges all the way around it, and you can see the culvert, you can see the water lines in it, how it goes down in stages. I mean, you can see the culvert way back off over here. We're 6 foot below that culvert. I mean, as we come around, guys, you can see we even quit mowing the grass because we mowed the grass in one place and it killed it. So we've stopped mowing the grass, and you can see it's actually turning brown on the hills over there. And there's no way of fixing this. All the big stumps we put in the water that was underwater, they're all out above the water now. The poor fish have no place to hide. This end down here, we had Mr. Lance come back. He actually dug this whole end out for us where it would be deeper down there. And it's all dried up now. Literally. If he hadn't have dug it out, we would have less water than we have now. Guys, I know I said this would be the year of solutions, but to be honest with you, there is no solution for this. Unless we have a hurricane or something, or some kind of, I think they call them derechos up north, which we don't want that down here. It's going to take an awful lot of water back in this ground to bring it back up to where it originally was. See, we had no hurricanes last year here, and we have none this year, and they're saying we're not going to get any until maybe late September or something, and then it might be really bad. And technically, even this past spring, we got showers, but they were not any kind of rain that put water back into the ground. I think I checked the other day, we were 23 inches behind on our water table, our rain here, as far as how many inches of rain we should have by now. We're 23 inches behind. By now we should have close to 45 inches, and we don't have that. You know, I mean, we're 23 inches behind now. And even the leaves on the trees, now the mulberry seems to be faring okay, but the leaves are starting to fall off on the ground. The crabapple, all the leaves are beginning to just dry up and fall completely off of it. My grandpa fig in the background back there, the leaves have all fell off a bit. this kind of heat with no moisture is taking its toll on everything we have around here. Guys, this is the sugar cane. It looks pitiful this year. This stuff should be another 5 foot taller than what it is. The stalks are no longer than like 3.5 to 4 foot right here. They are usually way up yonder by now, and we've had no rain this year for the sugar cane. So I'm not sure how much of a crop we're going to get this year. It may not be a good crop. I don't know. It depends on if we start getting any rain to help it out at all. This is a front pond, and this pond's about 12-14 feet deep, and it's like 6 or 8 foot low. We had this whole end in here dug out deeper, all the way back up to the road up in here, and that's all dried up now, and it's all, the water's all the way back down into here now. It's as low as almost as low as the day we built it. It's bad. We come out here now and the cows are standing out there in it belly deep right over here. Last night we thought they were all gone, and we got to looking and every one of them was standing in the pond out over here. Lots of people have gotten rain. We have not gotten any rain of any amount actually this whole year. We got a few rains in the spring, but nothing. The pond never actually ran over and ran water through the spillway for more than a day or two. And usually by this time of the year, where our rain is up around 40 inches or 43 inches, something in that area, and we're not even in the mid-20s yet on our inches of rain. So we are definitely way behind. And unless we was to get several hurricanes back to back, that amount of water table probably won't come back this year. Now, while we're in this drought, the leaves on the trees here have begun to turn brown and actually just fall, just like fall. Over at Pecan Grove, I took Wanda riding around and I showed her giant poplar trees growing off in the woods. The leaves are already turned golden yellow on them, and they're falling to the ground. And it's not because it's been cold. The pine trees, the brown needles are all on the bottoms of the pine trees. They're just turning brown, and just the straw is falling like crazy, and that usually don't happen until way up in the winter. Here at the house, up on my roof here on the very room that I'm sitting in right here now, usually in the fall I'll have to get up there about 3 times, and I'll have to sweep the leaves off of the shed part of this room right here. But I hardly never do it in the summertime. But now I've already been up 3 times. I need to go now up there, and I need to rake them off because the trees are just dropping leaves. It looks like fall, the way the leaves are just raining down constantly outside. And this is all because of the heat and the drought. Now we are on today would be day 84. I have records. We keep our records every day. This is day 84. By the time this video comes out, it'll actually be more than that. This video is being shot on a Sunday. Today is day 84 at above 105 degree heat index. Now, not the actual temperature, but the index, heat index, feels like temperature. 84 days in a row, consecutively in a row. We have been under heat advisories and extreme heat advisories 50-something of those days. So, with that happening, we quit cutting the grass here because we cut the grass in one spot and it died. So I told Wanda, and it's not like us. We like to keep our yard cut and everything, but I told her, I said, you know what? Just leave it alone. Let it grow, and don't cut it. And it looks raggedy. It looks shabby. There's grass. Some places is knee deep. Some places it's only ankle deep. And it doesn't look good. But we're in a period in time when we've got to quit worrying about what something looks like. And this is what I talked about on our live stream the other night when I was talking about our tip at the end. We've got to get beyond what something looks like. And we've got to just get practical and realize that sometimes we've got to work with nature rather than against nature. My pond, not only this pond, but the pond in the front is about 6 foot low. I had the upper end of it dug way out with a track hoe, and now the cows are walking on dry ground out there where I had it dug out at, and they're actually wading out into the other part of the pond, standing in it at night just to cool off. Now the back pond they have no access to because this is our family pond. This one has the brim and the bass in it, and I had Mr. Lance come dig the upper end of it out another 40 or 50 feet up in there and real deep up in there, and now it's all dry ground. You can walk across the whole thing up there. Now, is there solutions for any of this? And the answer is no. People go, but don't you have a well? I have a well, and if I put a hose over into that pond, my water table's already dropping here because of this drought that we're in. I would only be wearing my pump out to put water into a pond that's just going to evaporate. And many people talk to us, say, send us messages and things like this because our sweet potatoes and our whole garden up there, they're just drying up, dying. I don't even know if we'll get any sweet potatoes this year to amount to anything. And we were really counting on a bumper crop this year. But people say, well, you got a pond within 100 feet of it. Why aren't you pumping water out up there? If I pump water from my pond's already 6 foot low and it's full of fish. And I would only be damaging my pond to put water into a field. Under these conditions, you can water all you want. And with the ambient temperature being what it is absolutely no good. It doesn't matter if you do it at night, it doesn't matter if you do it at day. The best you'll do is just keep a plant alive. It will not produce during this time because when a temperature rises above a certain amount, pollen becomes sterile. And so it's a waste of time. Now, my sugar cane, we were hoping to have a good crop of sugar cane this year to make a couple of good batches of syrup. We'll be lucky this year because the sugar cane right now is normally 10 feet tall. The stalks are already. And we're always worried about storms coming in, hurricanes blowing them down. Right now it ain't 4 foot tall. The cane part of it's not. I mean, the fodder part's probably 6 foot tall, but the cane itself's only about 4 foot tall. So unless we get some moisture in here, I don't foresee having much sugar cane this year to make syrup out of because it's really is bad, and it's planted in a wet area. That's the crazy part about it. It's just that dry here. Now we have finished picking this morning. We finished picking all the Danny corn. I have about 12 5-gallon bucketfuls out here under my carport right now that we got picked off this morning. And I told Wanda, I said, you know what? It's going to be bad, but I've got to bush hog it down. I want to bush hog it down because we've taken out a lot of the predator animals at Pecan Grove. I have a couple of foxes left over there that I know of, but we've got rid of most of the raccoons in the area. We've got rid of most of the possums and skunks and stuff like that. I got rid of one fox, and I know there's one still left. And for the first time this morning, I saw the quail. I saw a quail. I heard him whippoorwilling, and then when I was coming out, I saw him running under a bush. So I know the quail are headed toward where I cut that corn down, and there was corn chops everywhere from where the coons and all had messed with some of the ears, and I just left them and bush hogged them because the wildlife will come in now. The doves, the turkeys, the quail, all that kind of stuff will come back. The rabbits, we've not seen one rabbit on the property anywhere because of all these predator type animals over there. And Wanda saw a rabbit for the first time right at the driveway entrance the other morning. We were excited about that. So we're trying to get it back to where we have beneficial animals over it there. And when I bush hogged the corn this morning, it was so dusty that literally I couldn't even see the rows I was bush hogging. And matter of fact, I'm sitting here now, my hair is wet. I just got home and took a shower and come in here to sit down to do this video. This is the driest I have seen it in, I guess, since the year 2000. And guys, I wanted to, I'm not complaining about any of this, and I'm not sitting here saying, oh, woe is me, because I'm not the only one in this. There's a lot of us in this situation down here in the South. What I do want to do is I want to tell the people in the South, don't give up. Now, the rain will come one day. I don't know when. My sources are telling me we have about 2 more years of this to go through, and that the temperatures will increase more than they were this year. So, what do we do with that kind of information? Well, what we do with that kind of information is we begin to look for solutions. Planting in the ground, if we're going to be this hot, is probably not going to be a good option. Now, I'm not saying that you can't plant in a raised bed. I'm saying, like I do in big fields, it may not be a good option. But this year, we averted this by planting early. We planted, even though it was frosting, we still planted and covered. And we were able to pull it off this year. So next year, because of what happened this year, if next year is going to be even hotter, it tells me I'm going to have to do the same exact thing again. Except this year, this coming year, we will be doing more in containers underneath shades. We'll try to fix it where they can get the morning sun so that they will, if they get any frost or dew on them, they will dry off. But after about, here our heat indexes go into, our heat advisories or warnings go into effect between 10:30 and 11 o'clock in the morning. So what that's telling me is by 10 o'clock, my plants need to be in the shade. And they need to be in containers. They need to be up off of the ground because of the intense radiation that the earth is giving off right now. Because radiation sterilizes stuff also. So part of the solutions for this coming year, and maybe even this fall, is going to be container gardening, or you can do it in raised beds. If you do raised beds, you're going to have shade cloth over them. And the container gardens are going to have to be where they don't get any sun after 10 o'clock in the morning. And in containers, we're able to monitor the soil, and we're able to keep it moist. We're able to keep it nutritious, fertilized. We always put worms in our containers so that we're full of worm castings in the bottom. The drawback to that is, one thing we're learning about doing that, we've learned that we have to fill our containers all the way to the very top. To the very top with our soil. Because by the end of the growing season, we've noticed we try to overwinter some of our peppers and keep them for 2 or 3 years in the same pot. And what we're learning is, because of the worms in the pots that we put in there, the soil begins to go down. As the worms process the soil and turn it into worm castings, many of our pots go from being level full at the top, our cattle mineral tubs is what we use, to about 8 inches low. The plant will be 8 inches down in them by the end of the year, because the worms have literally eaten all the soil up. And what happens is, if we start adding more soil back in on it, then it gets up above the root ball of the plant and it kills the plant. So we are actively learning that it is a challenge for us to be able to keep stuff in pots for more than 1 year. We tried to dig some of our Miraki number 29 sweet potatoes that we got from Hall's Tool over at Pecan Grove, and the ground is just like powder. They didn't grow very big, and I told Wanda, I said, there's no need even digging them. The vines are still alive. I told her, I said, just leave them alone because they're little small potatoes. And hopefully, at some point, maybe it'll start raining. And if it does, then maybe the plants will put some growth into the potatoes. Maybe they'll get a little bit bigger. I don't anticipate them getting much bigger. And this year has not really been a good year to gauge. We bought five different varieties of sweet potato slips from Hall's Tool. It was not a good year to gauge the productivity of those slips that we got from them, because even our own slips are not doing much at all either, because of just how dry the ground is. And for us to water is not possible because we have fields. We don't have a patch. We have fields. We got 1/4 acre fields, and we don't have any water source back over where these fields are at. There's no water back there. The one way up in the front up here, there's no water up there. And it's too hot to get out and tote water, and if we did, the sun's just going to evaporate it. So it's not really a profitable thing for us to do that. Now, what we get this year, we will be thankful for. We probably will just leave them in the ground. They're not hurting anything, as long as the fire ants are not messing with them and the rodents are not messing with them. We'll probably just leave them because most of them are covered up in grass right now. And if it ever decides to want to start raining again, where we can actually get in there and the ground gets where we can do something with it, because right now the ground is so dry and so hard, if we try to dig them, we're just going to break them in pieces. And that's not a good thing to have happen. We need some moisture in the ground to be able to get them out of the ground. But we don't need them to sit in the ground too long, because what will happen is if they've been this hot and this dry for this long, if the ground starts getting really wet, then what will happen is they'll start sprouting. And we don't need that either. So it's going to be a very tricky time to try to figure out exactly when we have to get these out of the ground when it does start raining. And when we do, we got to move with it. But I know right now it's not going to be for another couple of weeks, because they're talking about this heat dome that's going to be on us all the way into September. So there's no reason for us to be in a big hurry about that. But we do have some of the Danny corn out now. We're working on getting it ready to start packaging to sell in September, we're hoping. It's been in the freezer now, some of it, for 2 weeks. I do that to all my corn, at least 2 weeks. And if you happen to order some from us, you can put it back in the freezer. It's not going to hurt it. And leave it there indefinitely until you use it, because we leave most all of our corn stays in the freezer until we get ready to plant it. That way, when you take it out of the freezer and you put it into the warm soil, it usually germinates in 3 to 4 days and starts coming up out of the ground. And it's not going to hurt it to stay in the freezer. But any corn you get from us will have been run through a freezer. And we do that, I know some people are going to ask why, because all corn, all wheat, all oatmeal, all any grains have insects in them. And even our corn that we grind for our cornmeal, we run it through the freezer at a minimum of 2 weeks also, to kill any eggs in it or anything like that from any insects or stuff and it's in there. I know it sounds horrible, but it's truthful. It's in all the wheat you buy. You buy a bag of flour at the store and leave it sitting in your counter for 6 months and see what happens, or a box of oatmeal or anything like that, and you'll find out you got bugs all in it, because there are eggs in it everywhere. So that's where we're at with the Danny corn. We're working on it. Hopefully we'll have it out. It will mainly go first off to our patrons. We'll get the first few packs that come out. I don't know how many that'll end up being, but they'll get the first few packs. And then on our live stream on a Saturday night, I don't know what Saturday night it'll be, we will mention when we begin to start putting it up. And then those in the live stream will have the next opportunity to go to our Etsy store and be able to purchase from us. So guys, I hope all is well with you all. Now, I know we have friends in central part of the United States that is being flooded with horrible weather. And there are tornadoes and hail and, floods. And I have told people that for the last couple of years that the 33rd to 35th parallel through there is going to be the new weather zone. It's going to, I call it the battle zone through there, where the cold and the hot is going to happen, because when we went from a La Nina to a El Nino, they had predicted this to happen. Then when you have that happen, guys, it's not that we're so wise that we know this stuff. It's just reading the signs, you know, and we knew this was coming. So my heart goes out to those that's being flooded. My heart goes out to those that's in a drought. You know, we're in the solar maximum now, and which means that it's only, guys, I hate to say this, it's only going to get worse for another several years. So before we actually start getting any better. So let's be positive. And let's take care of it and make sure we come up with solutions. Like I mentioned on the live stream the other night for my tip, be inventive and be creative with your gardening now. Because if you don't, you will not succeed at it. So, guys, let's learn from one another. And let's keep our heads up and be positive. Thank you, guys, from Deep South Homestead.